Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are here with another one of your questions about work. And even though I have the COVID crawl, I wanted to make sure to keep this one because this is like very, 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 we've been waiting for it. I don't know. That's not even a sentence. But Julie was the CEO and founder of Ouya, the company that we co-founded together. And then after continuing to work in media, she now is the founder and president of Angel City, the newest soccer team in the NWSL. Is that the name of the league? Is that the league? And
perfect.
Had their first game at home 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. When was that?
I mean, April 29th. I don't know. It feels like yesterday.
Yeah, that's like, of course. And so, and one of the many things that I learned from Julie, and for those of you who are here for the first time, I'm Roy. I'm a startup investor in the future of work. We tackle your questions about work here. One of the many things I learned from Julie was that there are no obstacles. Like everything can be worked around or through. And I really felt this pretty profoundly when we were starting the company because we really believed in it. And I'm used to no, but we got a lot of no's, like a lot of no's. I detail it on my LinkedIn. And so the question, Julie, is if I have something that I really believe in, and then somebody says no, what do I do? How do I get the no to change?
Yeah, it's I mean, so much of it starts with just absolute belief in what you're doing and that you're fundamentally making a difference. You're doing something positive. So if you believe that you are doing something good for the world, it's really hard to stop with the no. What it means is that you're not effectively communicating the value. You're not effectively communicating your passion. You're not effectively communicating what you're trying to accomplish. And a no for me is just telling me to restate the problem, restate the question, restate the answer so they can hear it and get to a yes. Because I think for most people, it's so much easier to say no than yes. It's hard to believe. It's certainly hard to believe in something that doesn't exist yet, or you don't know if it's going to work, especially if you're putting your money behind it or your reputation behind it. So you have to give them a reason to say yes. So a no is just another way for you to fight to come up with that reason to say yes.
And so, but sometimes, you're starting something new and you could spend your time knocking on thousands of different doors. Sometimes, like in fundraising, we often say it's a search process, not a sell process, by which we mean, if there's a no, just move on to the next door because you don't need to spend the time on it. How do you think about when it's worth it to keep pushing on that person or party versus like, yeah, I just got to go on and move to the next thing?
You have to find out why they're saying no, right? Because some no's are because so we launched a women's professional soccer team. There were a lot of reasons to say no. There are 3 female founders, which is not common in sports. The 3 founders are a celebrity, a venture capitalist, and entrepreneur. Not your typical resume to be a sports, president or owner. In fact, none of us have any sports background. We were launching a professional sports team in Los Angeles.
Who are your 2 co-founders?
Oh, sorry. Natalie Portman, the actress and activist, and Karen Nortman, who's a venture capitalist at Upfront Ventures. And then myself, who's worked at...
Sorry, keep going, Julie. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no. So we're not, what's typical when you think about, running a sports team. And then let's just say if you got past all of that, then it's like, hold on a second. There are 11 professional sports teams in LA. They are all champions. And you have USC, and you have UCLA, and you have the beach, and you have the mountains. And this is a women's team, right? So how in the world are you able to compete for mind share and for dollars in this championship city when there's so much other things going on? So some of the no's we got was they just don't like sports. And I'm not going to turn that no into a yes. That's when you move on to the next door. When they fundamentally don't understand the product or like the product or care about the product, or, they've already invested in other sports teams. So you have to understand like where their passions are and what they've already done. So sometimes you have to move on from the no because it's not the right fit. But when it can potentially be the right fit, when you're talking to someone who likes to invest early, when they see upside, when they like taking risks, then it's about finding the right message. And, for us, we were really clear in that we were building an organization differently with mission and capital. And that was really hard. We talked to people who were like, well, wait, is it charity? Like, is this like buying a $25,000 table? Or is this a for-profit business and I should analyze this like a private equity investment? That's not really a startup because, there's not an exit strategy for sports, right? So there's a really long horizon. So it was really about also understanding the people that we thought would be incredible supporters who utilize their platform, who ultimately would see as much joy from investing in this that we would, finding out what mattered the most to them, and then reshaping and retelling the story. I mean, I don't have one pitch deck. I have 100 pitch decks. You have to really make sure it's resonating to the person that you're pitching to.
I love that. I mean, I feel like there's this process of kind of fiddling a key in a lock, trying to find which key it is that that is going to turn. And for different people, it is really radically different. And so the best, the best believers are also ironically really good listeners, because they find that there's something that they can connect with that person. And so how did it feel at the first game?
Oh my God. I mean, so it was incredibly emotional, right? I mean, you as an entrepreneur, you set goals, right? Like, and then like throughout your career, or you pivot, right? So to imagine setting goals for us nearly 3 years in advance, which is we're going to sell out a 22,000 seat stadium, which I don't think has ever been done for women's sports outside of a national team or like an Olympics, to build a brand that is like globally recognizable, to build a community that understands our values and wants to show up, and then ultimately after win the game, which is something that I couldn't control, but was certainly the goal. To have
Doesn't
all
suck.
of that doesn't suck. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was a sold out crowd. It was energetic. It was fun. It was loud. I mean, you'd be cheering on one hand and then like hugging the person next to you. It was just an environment you don't find in sports, in men's sports. And it was incredible. It was incredible.
Yeah, my college roommate went to the game with his daughters, and it just like the emotion was just really different, it just looked that way. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there and didn't experience it, but I'm going to come and I will be there. Any parting thoughts on people who are feeling like they're just hitting the brick wall over and over and over again?
I mean, it's emotionally really hard. It's really hard to hear no at any point. Like if you're 5 years old, if you're 20 years old, if you're 40 years old, like hearing no sucks. And so there is an emotional tax on that. So it's important to take care of yourself. It's important to really understand why you're hearing the no and to try to take a learning from it. But I also believe, I mean, and we faced this with Ouya. We had like 50 no's. And like, if I recall, Roy, we started off and we wanted to raise 15 million, and then it was 8, then it was 5, then it was 3.5, right? Then it was $1.5 million. We just wanted to get someone to believe in us. And then, and then we went a different path with Kickstarter. And so I think that's the other important thing, which is there's a lot of paths to get to the yes. You might just have to be flexible in how you get there. Yeah, it's really rewarding when it turns into a yes.
I love that. And, I used to call Julie the pain sink, because, it's like the investors say no, it goes down the pain sink, the founders say no, customer, developer, whatever. And so that resourcing yourself is just so critical. And then the other thing I've noticed you do is reward the people who say yes, is go back to those people, treat them well, make sure that they feel like they get the joy that comes from being the one who had that little crack of belief, that is the thing on which ultimately kind of all new things are built. All right. Well,
I feel incredibly indebted to anybody that supports and helps, and to be able to show that gratitude in like surprise and delight ways. It's who I am, but it's also just really important because you're going to have to call on them again, and they'll be there for you.
I love that. All right. Well, we're going to wrap. Julie, I love you. I wish I got to still work with you every day. My work sister. And then for the folks who want to see past examples of our conversations here with guests and friends, This Is Not Advice.work has the compendium, and we'll soon have this one. And until next time at the soccer arena stadium. I know so little about sports. What do you call a field? Pitch? It's called a pitch. I've heard that. All right. To be continued. Thank you, Julie.